Game week 2 is right around the corner, but we still have some questions from game week 1, so let's answer them. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of FPL All or Nothing. It is Friday, August 23rd. My name is Ewan, and on today's episode, we're going to go over a Game Week 2 preview and a quick look at my team selection. Very template, so hopefully it applies to a lot of your teams as well. Game Week 2 starts tomorrow. Let's get right into it here with the fixture ticker for the next 6 weeks here, game weeks 2 through game week 7. So the top 5 teams there are the 5 easiest teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the bottom 5 teams are the 5 hardest teams. That's 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. So just to avoid any confusion there, Christopher Nkunku gets the kind of cover guy, the man that everyone is talking about. He played last night in the Europa League, played 58 minutes, grabbed a goal, a penalty. So if Cole Palmer is ever not on the pitch while Christopher Nkunku is on there, we can assume that he is going to get penalties, which going into game week 1 of last season, we kind of thought that Nkunku was going to be on penalties for Chelsea as well, but he got injured, and it was just the Cole Palmer show the entire rest of the year. So that is interesting. Nkunku is second in line for Chelsea at penalties. They've got Wolves, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, and Nottingham Forest over the next 6. So quite a lot of decent fixtures there. Wolves might be tricky. You never know. Like, first home game for this season in front of anyone is always kind of something that you want to navigate a little bit better than that. Liverpool is next. They got Brentford, Man United, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves, and Crystal Palace. Pretty easy schedule. That Man United game at Old Trafford will be tough. Man United won both games last season where Liverpool played, or they drew and won in the FA Cup. There we go. Yes. Aston Villa is next. They've got Arsenal, which is tricky, but then after that, they have a good run. So everyone's going to be on Ollie Watkins moving forward in game week 3, game week 4, Leicester away, Everton away, Wolves away, Ipswich away. That can't be right. Need to capitalize at least a couple of those fixtures there. And then Man United at home. Fulham's next. Leicester, Ipswich, West Ham, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, and Man City in the next 6. And then Ipswich, they have Man City away, which is probably the toughest fixture in the Premier League this season, maybe above Arsenal away slightly. Then Fulham, Brighton, Southampton, Aston Villa, and West Ham. So if you have an Ipswich tractor boy asset, you may want to hold on to him there. Bottom 5 teams here: Brentford still bottom of the pack, Liverpool, Southampton, Man City, Tottenham, West Ham, and Wolves over the next 6. Tottenham's next. They've got Newcastle, Arsenal, and Man United in their next 6. Brighton as well. Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham in 4 of their next 6. Arsenal has Villa, Tottenham, Man City, and all away in 3 of their next 6. But their home games are Brighton, Leicester, and Southampton. So that's pretty decent slate. It's very up and down. So if you have a Bukayo Saka, if you have a Kai Havertz, you have an Arsenal defender, you can hold on to them nice and tight. Maybe you can find a rotation to kind of play them in the tougher fixtures. We can maybe get into that next week. Maybe I'll do a rotation graphic for the game week 3 preview with the Arsenal defenders. I will hopefully remember that. And then Leicester down here: Fulham, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Everton, Arsenal, and Bournemouth with the 5th toughest schedule over the next 6 game weeks. But yeah, those are kind of where you may want to go. Say you're on an early wild card, or you're thinking about game week 3, game week 4 wild card, that sort of thing. I know there's a lot of chip strategies kind of chips being used, kind of getting thrown out the window early. Some people were on bench boost game week 1, like James from Planet FPL, that went pretty well for him. And then there's a lot of people trying to play the triple captaincy chip for Erling Haaland's game against Ipswich. Interesting note is, I tweet this out on X at F1U and FPL. Erling Haaland in game week 2 in his first home game each season he has 1 assist in the 2 home games in game week 2. That he's played it at about 1.3 XGI in total. However, in game week 4, in his second home game of every season, he has 7 returns, 2 hat tricks, and an assist. And he also has about 3.7 XGI or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous. So if you are playing the triple captaincy chip, just put that in the back of your mind ahead of the game week 2 deadline. Moving over here to the 2 kind of hottest topics in FPL this week. So this is the 7 to 8.5 midfielder range. Selected a few of them here. Didn't go all the way down to 6.5 because that's its own bracket that I'll probably touch on next week as well, along with the Arsenal rotation. just to kind of split this up because it can get a little heavy or too much if you lump in the 6.5 as well. So on this graphic here, if you're listening on the podcast side, I have Bruno Fernandes, James Maddison, Diogo Jota, Luis Diaz, Anthony Gordon, Brian Mbuemo, and Ebre Esse. So like I said, I got the price, the game week points, game week 1 XGI, and the game week 2 predicted points from rotoballer.com. Those will get updated later this afternoon. So if you follow me on X at F1UNFPL, you can see the updated rankings along with our game week preview, Walle's FPL tips for the FPL challenge, Jamie's betting, Brandon's DFS picks, rankings, staff roundtable, all that fun stuff. So definitely head over to rotoballer.com for all your written FPL needs, but you can like and subscribe to this YouTube channel or the podcast if you don't mind me blathering on about FPL. Coming off of my top 5K in the world finish last season. So Fernandes here, 1.22 XGI from game week 1, did not have a return, 3 points, 4.89 predicted points, according to rotoballer.com this week. The 2 highest predicted points guys here are Diogo Jota, who is pictured here on the left, and Ebre Esse, 5 points. So Jota's at 5.03, Eze's at 5.01. Next, there is Fernandes at 4.89. James Maddison looked really good in that first half against Leicester, slowed down a little bit against the Foxes as like Spurs kind of stuttered there. They let in a goal and then it was just kind of chaotic there. Did get brought off early, but in the first half, him, Paro, and Brendan Johnson were linking up really well down the right-hand side. Paro got the goal from a James Maddison assist, so 1.00 XGI for Maddison there. Diogo Jota missed a sitter. I can't believe I'm still thinking about how he missed that header off that Trent Alexander-Arnold cross. If there's like one guy in the Premier League, maybe other than Erling Haaland, you'd want on the end of that cross, I think it was Diogo Jota. I'm not even sure I've seen him miss a header like that before in his Liverpool or his Wolves career in the Premier League. But he made amends for it later on, like a minute later, when Mo Salah assisted him after a Trent sublime pass through the back line. So 0.9 XGI or 0.99 XGI for him, came away with 8 points, predicted to lead this pack of midfielders here at 5.03. Diaz and Gordon. Diaz had good expected numbers, 0.84, came away with 3 points. Gordon, 0.02, but for the Newcastle game, we've got to just kind of take that with a pinch of salt, throw it out because they were down to 10 men after about 26 minutes when Fabian Schär headbutted, quote unquote, Diaz from Southampton, who made a little bit of a meal of it, but that is the game those are the rules of the game these days. So yeah, not great job by Fabian Schär there. Brian Mbuemo was fantastic. We all kind of got hoodwinked, bamboozled by Thomas Frank here. He was saying that Ivan Toney's training, he's going to be in the squad, he's going to be like on penalties and stuff. So I was talking to my brother on last Friday before the deadline. He was telling me his squad is his first year playing FPL. And he had Brian Mbuemo on his team. I was like, oh, like I do like him. He is a good pick, but he's not going to be on penalties anymore. I'm not sure he's going to be on free kicks because Ivan Toney. And then, bam, right when he scored that game-winning goal, get a text from him being like, so about Brian Mbuemo. And I was like, yeah, feel bad. So, yeah, that was not fun, Thomas Frank. Thank you for that misinformation that you're feeding us there. But 9 points in game week 1, 0.54 XGI, 3.46 predicted points. This week against Liverpool is a tougher fixture. I wouldn't go to Brian Mbuemo this week, as you saw in the fixture ticker just there, or listen to. Brentford has the toughest schedule over the next 6, so definitely something to consider there. And Ebre Esse looked magical. He was on everything for Crystal Palace. The main creator should have probably laid off to Tyreek Mitchell at one point there. Went for goal himself, barely missed it, to be fair. Had a incredible free kick ruled out because of a rookie ref that just got a little antsy with the whistle there. And yeah, Eze is a great pick. But right now, wherever you are, whoever you have in this kind of range, I've got Anthony Gordon. It feels tough. He obviously had the worst expected numbers there, 0.02. But like I said, you got to throw those out. But in general, I think holding a transfer for these midfielders is wise. We get like double the amount of information this weekend with game week 2. We see where is Bruno still going to line up top? Where's is Maddison still going to get those minutes? Is Diogo Jota going to make it through another game healthy? How does Newcastle look with 11 men on the field? Brian Mbuemo against a tough opposition. Ebre Esse at home. Like all this stuff we can kind of, after 2 weeks is still pretty early for me, but we can get more info and make better informed decisions about this. So while I don't think any of these guys are bad options, I think Madison is maybe the lowest owned here, maybe Embuemo as well. Um, I wouldn't switch any. If you have any of them, I'd still feel pretty good. There are positive signs for almost all of them in game week 1. So I would just hold and kind of wait to see what you're going to do next. Next up is the 4.5 million defenders. Been a lot of chatter on FPLX this week about the 4.5 million defenders. Gerald Kwanzaa actually fell to 4.4 million. So while this is titled 4.5 million defenders, he's still in that range. I know some people sold him there. There's been a rumor going around that Anthony Robinson has a wrist injury, which he's pictured here on the left, and he's wearing wrapping around his right wrist. And this is a preseason friendly. And then I was looking at pictures from the Man United game, and that wrapping is less. So hopefully it's getting better. So he probably does have a wrist injury, but I think he can play with it. So we will see if we get any news in the Marco Silva press conference later today. But the 7 defenders I have listed in the 4.5 million defender price bracket here are Livramento, Rico Lewis, Lewis Hall, Anthony Robinson, Ezri Konsa, Rayan Ait-Nouri, and Jarell Kwanzaa. So it's kind of tough because 4.5 million defender, you're really not expecting that much out of them in FPL anyway. And to use a transfer that you have in game week 2 on one of these guys where they could just go, like the other one could just go off that week, is really tough. I know a lot of people jumped off of Kwanzaa because he got benched at halftime as like a kind of sacrificial lamb for Arne Slot, saying that Liverpool was losing too many duels in the air against Ipswich, which was true, but Kwanzaa wasn't the only kind of culprit in that scenario, but he was kind of the one that was made an example of, I guess I would say. But Kanade came on, Liverpool scored 2 goals. They looked a lot better in the second half, so maybe not great news for Kwanzaa. However, we'll see what kind of manager Slot is. He could just put Kwanzaa right back in the side to try and give him a confidence boost again. Maybe Kanate can only play a half right now because he's been pretty injury prone or kind of lacking fitness in his Liverpool career so far. So it'll be interesting to see the team sheet at Anfield on Sunday afternoon. Ait-Nouri, Wolves have terrible fixtures, so I would not really go near these guys, but he still looked really good, really attacking, 17 touches in the final third, which led this group of 4.5 million defenders. Only a 14% chance of a clean sheet. On the graphic here, if you're listening on the audio side, I have game week points, touches in the final third, game week 2 clean sheet odds, and game week 2 predicted points according to rotoballer.com. Livramento tops the charts here with 7 game week 1 points, 8 final third touches. But like I said, Newcastle. So him and Lewis Hall down here, 8 and 11 final third touches. Hopefully that changes. And these two have had a big development this week, as it sounds like Kieran Trippier wants out of Newcastle. Rumors are that he wants to go to Everton. Okay. Whatever you say, Kieran. But yeah, it sounds like the England veteran right back is kind of looking for a change of scenery. I guess he doesn't really vibe with Eddie Howe anymore. So this would be great news for Livramento and Hall, as they would get a much needed boost to their kind of minutes floor for the rest of the FPL season. So if that transfer gets confirmed over the next week, because the transfer deadline is August 30th, 31st, yeah, Livramento and Hall would be great picks in FPL. Rico Lewis here, this is more of a punt, I would say, because it sounds like Kyle Walker's working his way back. There's still rumors about him going to Saudi Arabia. We'll see there, but he's working his way back from a kind of long Euro 2024 campaign where England went to the final. 6 points in game week 1, 15 final third touches, which only trails Ait-Nouri here on this chart. 55% chance of a game week 2 clean sheet because they play Ipswich at home, and 2.88 predicted points. Anthony Robinson actually leads this group at 3.41 predicted points, as they have Leicester at home. He had 12 final third touches and it has a 34% chance of a clean sheet this weekend. But like I said, it's kind of the same thing with the midfielders, is that like you can't really go wrong there with the 4.5 million defender that you have. Jarell Kwanzaa maybe, but he's already at 4.4, so you can't, like, if you have nothing in the bank, you can't even get up to one of these other defenders. And I think at this point, you hope he gets a start. You stick him in your lineup. and see what happens for game week 2. Maybe he gets a start, gets a clean sheet. He could always get headed goal, that kind of thing as well. But yeah, if you can afford to bench him, I would actually bench him over starting him. But yeah, I think it's worth having 2 transfers, because then you can actually make a proper move. You can kind of wait for a price rise to happen, jump on that guy, get the 0.1, and then just kind of build from there. Maybe get that 0.1 that you lost from Kwanzaa back. Last part of the preview right here, game week 2 captains. It sounds like everyone and their grandma is going to be on Erling Haaland this weekend, and I can't blame them. However, if you don't have Erling Haaland, there are some other options that you need to consider. Mo Salah, who you probably have if you don't have Erling Haaland. He has Brentford at home, 14 points in game week 1, 0.85 XGI, 7.72 points according to roadball.com, which doesn't trail Haaland by that much. Haaland's at 8.79. So, I mean, if they both hit those targets, then Erling Haaland outscores Mo Salah by 2 points against Ipswich at home. That's pretty decent. And you've had 2.5 million in savings, and you got 7 more points than him in game week 1. So not bad at all, or 14 points, I guess, because you would have captained him. Solanke is the other option I would consider if you're just trying to be totally differential in game week 2 already. Everton at home looked very leaky. Sounds like they have, like, they're going to field one of the oldest, worst defenses in recent Premier League memory. Lots of injuries there. James Tarkowski maybe not playing this week as well. Ashley Young was already like an emergency fill-in. He got sent off last week. So Everton are extremely depleted along the back line. And Solanke played all 90 minutes against Leicester, looked really attacking, a little bit rusty. Like, it obviously the first time playing with all those teammates in the first competitive game. That is understandable. Still put up 0.49 XGI and is expected to score 5.14 points this weekend. So Solanke is kind of like my differential shout in the captaincy. So Haaland would be one if you have him. You can play the triple captaincy if you want. I'm going to probably hold off on that this week. I'll put the captaincy on Haaland. Mo Salah, an excellent backup option if you don't have Haaland. And then Solanke, if you're just feeling a little bit frisky in game week 2 already. We're going to be 1/19th through the FPL season for the 2024-2025 year. So maybe just get a little bit different with Dominic Solanke this weekend. So here is the squad ahead of game week 2 in the FPL season. We've got Dean Henderson, Alexander Arnold, Pedro Porro, and Anthony Robinson along the back line. Anthony Gordon, Christopher Nkunku, Bukayo Saka, and Emile Smith-Rowe in the middle of the park. Dominic Solanke, Alexander Isak, and Erling Haaland with the captain's armband. Saka as my vice captain right now. Maybe I'll just change that to Solanke here. Let me get this, because since I was touting him, make him my vice captain in case something happens to Erling Haaland. It did happen last year. Remember that? FPL Tony, and he was like, I wonder who people have as their vice captain. But Saturday, City are playing in the 4 o'clock or the 3 o'clock games for the UK. So I expect Haaland to play. Haven't heard anything else. The benching dilemma here is Munoz versus like Robinson. Rogers is going to take a seat to Smith Rowe this week. And Barco, yes, I have Barco. He could get his own category. Sounds like he's going to go out on loan to Sevilla. Sounds like he will get a red flag and potentially a price lock. Neil from Fantasy Football Scout did an article talking about the 50 players that went out on loan last year, and none of them fell in price. Even like 2 seasons ago, when João Cancelo went out on loan to Barcelona and was really highly owned in FPL, he went out in the middle of the season, like in the January transfer window, 1.1 million transfers out, still stuck in price. So if Barco doesn't fall in price, if he gets the red flag, which hopefully he does soon, I doubt that he will fall in price, and he can just be a wild card problem when that comes about for your team. So if you have him, actually, he is in 22.1% of teams right now. So yeah, I wouldn't expect him to fall anywhere at all. But yeah, Saka, the team kind of just makes itself. It could be a Rodgers. Well, I mean, Rodgers at Arsenal, I just gotta, take the home fixture against Leicester. That's probably one of the top 3 fixtures that any team can have in FPL this season. So if you're not going to play Emile Smith-Rowe at home versus Leicester, then you may not want him in your team at all. Munoz versus Robinson and Paro is a little bit of a decision just because I know Munoz is fit. Robinson with the wrist injury. Pedro Paro came off with a slight ankle knock on Monday. He was hobbling around for a couple of minutes there at the end, but I believe he was pictured in training yesterday. So hopefully that is a good sign. And yeah, the team just kind of sets it or picks itself for game week 2 of the FPL season. But let me know in the comments below what your transfer conundrums are. Are you rolling? Are you just kind of playing a wild card, playing triple captain? Let me know what you are doing in game week 2. But that's going to do it for the Game Week 2 preview on FPL Haul or Nothing. Hopefully you are enjoying the channel. I did my FPL or my Hauls of the Week picks yesterday, my Game Week 2 punts kind of thing yesterday. That is also on the YouTube channel. So if you don't want to miss an episode, if you don't mind my rambling, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel or the podcast, wherever you are watching and listening, and you'll never miss an episode. And yeah, that's kind of a wrap. It's early doors, early season, so there's not too much going on. Not a lot of differentiation, if that's the right word, amongst FPL squads. So we will just see each other next week ahead of game week 3. And then there is an international break. So the 3 weeks of momentum will kind of be brought to a shuddering halt, unfortunately, but that's okay. You got to get those breaks in early because FPL is a marathon, not a sprint. But once again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.